In an age where millions broadcast their lives online, some streams take a terrifying turn. These aren't just glitches or staged pranks, these are moments where people vanished in real time, right in front of their viewers. No warning, no goodbyes, just an unsettling silence and a screen gone dark. Tonight, we're diving into 3 haunting cases of individuals who disappeared during a live stream and were never seen again. Story 1, the streamer in the woods. Chris Halberg wasn't a big name in the streaming world, but he had a loyal following. His channel focused on survival content, primitive shelters, bushcraft tools, and long hikes through uninhabited wilderness. Viewers loved his authenticity and how he didn't rely on gimmicks. Just a man, a camera, and the wild. In late October, Chris announced a new idea for his channel, a 72-hour solo live stream deep in the Pacific Northwest, entirely off-grid. He called it the Black Timber Challenge. The rules? No food except what he foraged, no fire unless naturally sourced, and no contact with the outside world. He would carry a solar-powered rig with a Starlink dish for internet access, strapped to his pack and tent, allowing viewers to watch uninterrupted. On October 23rd, Chris went live. The signal was spotty at first, grainy visuals and occasional lag, but it smoothed out as he reached a high ridge deep in the forest. "This," he said, panning the camera, "is where it starts." His tent was modest. The woods around him looked ancient, gnarled trees and moss-choked trunks stretching into mist. The first day was uneventful. Chris set up his shelter, gathered edible roots, even caught a fish from a nearby stream. The chat scrolled with comments. Open quote, "Man, this is peaceful." "You're living the dream, bro." "Careful out there. I heard weird stuff happens in those forests." Close quote. Chris read that last one aloud and chuckled. "I'll take my chances," he said, sipping water from a tin cup. That night, the stream captured him by the fire, reading from a worn copy of Walden. The forest was nearly silent, except for the occasional hoot of an owl. Day 2 is when things changed. It began with the footprints. Chris found them just beyond his camp, bare footprints, small, maybe child-sized, but sunken deeply into the mud as if whatever made them was unnaturally heavy. "There's no way," Chris muttered, kneeling beside them. "We're miles from anything." He followed them for about 20 yards before they vanished into underbrush. Chat lit up again. Open quote, "WTF is that? Dude, get out of there. Could be a bear, a sick one?" Close quote. That night, Chris seemed unsettled. He kept looking over his shoulder as he boiled cattail roots. At one point, he muted his mic and walked off screen for nearly 5 minutes. The camera stayed fixed on the fire, flickering alone. When he returned, he looked pale. "I thought I heard whispering," he said finally. "But it might have been the wind." Just before he signed off for the night, he repositioned the camera outside his tent, facing the dark woods. He left a lantern on so viewers could watch through the night. At 3:17 a.m., the chat exploded. From the shadows at the tree line, a figure emerged. It was small, 4 feet tall, maybe, pale, hairless. It didn't walk so much as it glided silently across the forest floor. It stopped just outside the lantern's reach, tilting its head. Then it stepped back into the dark. Chris never stirred. Morning came, and the chat was in a frenzy. Clips were already circulating on Reddit and Twitter titled, "What the hell did Chris see?" Or, "Skinwalker on stream?" Chris came back on camera later that morning looking visibly shaken. He had heavy bags under his eyes and a large scratch down his right arm. "I had the worst nightmare," he said. "Something was outside the tent. I think I talked to it." He tried to laugh, but it was hollow. The rest of the day, he barely moved from camp. He didn't gather food. He didn't explore. He just sat and carved something into a piece of bark. At one point, he held it up to the camera. It was a spiral with a stick figure in the middle. "Anyone know what this means?" he asked. No one did. That night, he didn't speak. He didn't even acknowledge the chat. He turned the camera to face the forest again, but didn't light a lantern. At 2:12 a.m., something walked into frame again. It was taller this time, human-sized, but not quite right. It was too thin. The arms hung too low. It had no eyes, or maybe they were just so black they vanished in the dark. It crept slowly toward the tent. The camera shook. Inside, Chris screamed. Not a startled yelp, a full guttural scream of agony and terror. Something thudded against the side of the tent. Then again, the camera fell. Static buzzed across the stream for 2 full minutes. When the image returned, the tent was empty. The fire was out. The spiral carving lay directly in front of the lens, propped up like a sign. The stream continued for another 10 hours, just the unmoving image of the tent, the forest, and silence. Thousands watched, hoping for Chris to return. But he never did. Search and rescue was dispatched 3 days later after his family filed a report. They found the clearing. They found the rig. They found the bark carving. But no body, no blood, no tracks, except one. A bare footprint, deep, heavy, facing the tent. The official report said Chris was presumed missing due to exposure. The stream was removed from his platform due to disturbing content. But screen recordings still circulate on dark forums, and every once in a while, someone uploads a blurry clip of that figure in the woods. Each version looks just a little different, but all of them agree on one thing. Chris Halberg never came out of the forest. Story 2. Vanished in virtual class. October 2020. The world was deep into lockdown. Schools were closed, streets were empty, and the only thing more common than hand sanitizer was Zoom. 15-year-old Mia Carrington was just another high school sophomore trying to survive online learning. She wasn't particularly popular, nor was she a loner. She had a few close friends, decent grades, and spent most of her free time reading creepypasta or watching paranormal YouTube channels. She had a fascination with the strange, especially stories about disappearances. Ironically, Mia would become one of them. It happened during a routine third-period English class. There were 20 students in the Zoom room, all muted except for Miss Jenner, their teacher. The lesson was about Gothic literature, the fall of the House of Usher. And Miss Jenner was explaining unreliable narrators when Mia's webcam flickered. Just for a second. Her face pixelated, turned reddish, then it went back to normal. In the chat, someone typed, open quote, "Lol, Mia glitching like a demon," close quote. Mia smiled faintly and typed back, open quote, "possessed by Poe," close quote. A few others laughed. Class continued. Then Mia's camera flickered again. This time it lingered. Her background, normally her bedroom with a purple lava lamp and a One Direction poster, was replaced by something darker. It looked like a stone wall, moldy, wet, and behind her was movement. It was subtle, a blur, a figure. "Mia," Miss Jenner said, squinting at her screen. "Is something wrong with your camera?" The class fell silent. Mia didn't respond. Her expression was frozen, wide-eyed, staring just to the left of the camera. Her mouth was slightly open, as if she was about to say something. The stream of her video stuttered again. The stone background glitched back to her bedroom, then back to the stone. "Is that a Zoom filter?" someone asked. "No way. Look at her face," another student typed. Then Mia moved. She turned her head slowly toward the camera, but her eyes didn't follow. They looked glassy, empty. The chat exploded. Open quote, "What the hell? She looks dead. Is this a prank?" Close quote. "Mia, please respond." "Miss," Jenner said, a hint of panic in her voice. "I'm going to call your parents." But Mia began typing. Her microphone was still muted, but the class could see her hands on the keyboard. Her message popped up in the chat. Open quote, "He's behind me?" Close quote. Then she froze again. Her webcam shimmered, like heat waves rising from asphalt, and for half a second, everyone saw something impossible. A face. Behind her. Not human. Smooth, pale, featureless, except for two enormous black holes where the eyes should be. It didn't move. It didn't blink. Then Mia's camera went black. Not disconnected, just pure, flat black, as if the lens had been covered. But her name remained in the participant list. They could still see her mic icon, still muted, still online. The class devolved into chaos. Kids screaming into their mics, Miss Jenner frantically trying to regain control, others texting Mia's phone. No answer. A few students said they heard something before the blackout, a low, wet breathing sound. A few said they saw a hand. Only one student, Ellie Simmons, said she saw Mia mouth something silently before her screen went dark. Ellie swore Mia had mouthed, "Help me." Authorities were contacted within the hour. Miss Jenner called Mia's mother directly. She was at work and rushed home immediately. The police found Mia's laptop still open on her desk. The Zoom call was still active, her black square still visible. But Mia wasn't in the room. The lava lamp was broken on the floor, the curtains were torn, the desk chair was knocked over, but no sign of forced entry, no footprints, no struggle, no Mia. The window was locked from the inside. So was the door. The only other thing out of place was a strange patch on the bedroom wall, just behind where her chair had been. It looked like mold, circular, almost like a tunnel. It was wet to the touch. Tests later revealed it wasn't mold. It wasn't even organic. Lab results were inconclusive. Unidentified material was the only phrase on record. Mia's disappearance made local news, then national, then viral. Clips of her glitching camera, the "he's behind me" message, and the brief face behind her became the stuff of internet legend. Some called it a hoax. Others believed it was a kidnapping using screen manipulation tech. But none of that explained how Mia physically vanished from a locked room mid-call with 20 witnesses. A subreddit was formed, r/Find Mia Carrington. Over 100,000 members traded theories, zoomed in screenshots, and slowed down footage of her final seconds. Several users claimed to spot strange symbols on the stone wall behind her, runes or glyphs. One user overlaid them with ancient Sumerian carvings and found disturbing similarities. Another user, a self-described digital forensics expert, said the glitch pattern that preceded her disappearance didn't match any known compression artifact. "It's not a technical error," he wrote. "It's a tear. Like reality itself was briefly torn open." Mia's parents withdrew from public life. Her room was sealed by police for further investigation, but nothing new was discovered. After 3 weeks, the case went cold. But something stranger happened exactly 30 days after Mia vanished. Ellie Simmons, the girl who claimed she saw Mia mouth "help me," received a message. It came through Discord from an account with no name, no avatar. It read simply, open quote, "It's dark here. He watches me. Don't let him find you too." Close quote. Then a photo was attached. It showed a stone hallway, damp, slimy walls stretching into shadow. In the distance, barely visible, was a figure sitting against the wall, head down, long brown hair, Mia's favorite purple hoodie. The photo's metadata was corrupt. Trace routing dead-ended in Greenland. The account vanished within an hour. FBI agents later investigated Ellie's laptop, but nothing was recovered. Ellie was put into therapy. She stopped attending Zoom classes. She refused to use any webcam again. Today, Mia Carrington is still missing, officially presumed abducted under unusual and unknown circumstances. No body, no proof of life, no suspects, only that last message. "He watches me." Don't let him find you too. Story 3, the artist who painted her own end. Samantha Lynn was a rising star in the world of digital art. Known for her hauntingly beautiful surreal portraits and cryptic symbolism, her live painting sessions drew thousands of viewers each week. Her fans loved watching her create from scratch. Slow brushstrokes, intense music playing softly in the background, and her near trance-like concentration. But her final stream, on a rainy Thursday evening in October, became infamous not for the art, but for what it revealed. That night, Samantha announced the stream with a cryptic tweet. "Tonight, I paint the truth. Watch carefully. It's all been leading here." Most fans assumed it was marketing hype. Some speculated it was part of a new horror series she'd teased months before. Over 18,000 people tuned in when she went live. The camera was slightly off-center, angled toward a large blank canvas propped on her studio easel. She didn't speak at all as the stream began. Only ambient music hummed in the background, lower than usual. Her face was pale, framed by unbrushed black hair. Her eyes, darker than normal, didn't meet the lens. As Samantha dipped her brush and began painting, the chat exploded with emojis, theories, and admiration. The painting emerged in soft layers. First, the outline of a dense forest under moonlight. Then, the image of a figure standing alone by a crooked tree. As more details emerged, the figure grew clearer. A woman, pale, slumped, a noose around her neck. People in the chat assumed it was a dark metaphor, maybe commentary on the pressures of being an online creator. But the tone shifted when Samantha began painting something else. A cabin, half hidden in the woods. It was rendered in eerie, photo-like detail. Then she painted a second version of herself inside that cabin's window, smiling. Comments flooded in. Open quote, "Wait, is this real? That looks like the cabin from her older sketchbook stream. Bro, this feels like a warning." Close quote. Then, around the 47-minute mark, Samantha finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Open quote, "This isn't a story. This isn't fiction. I've seen what comes for me, and I've already painted it." Close quote. The chat exploded. Several fans messaged moderators, unsure if they were witnessing performance art or a cry for help. Samantha turned off the ambient music and placed her brush down. She whispered again, "Open quote, they made me paint it. They made me see. Close quote, a loud knock echoed in the background. Once, then twice. Samantha flinched, looked toward the off-screen door. She whispered again, her face expressionless. They're here. The stream cut to static. Panic swept the viewer base. Emergency services were flooded with calls and messages. Some fans even tracked her approximate location based on past Instagram posts. By the time police arrived at her home 2 hours later, the front door was ajar. The house was silent, no signs of a break-in. But Samantha was gone. The painting remained, still wet. Authorities confirmed the painting was exactly as seen in the stream. The canvas depicted a forest that, upon investigation, closely resembled a section of woods behind her childhood home, over 50 miles from where she lived. Detectives searched that area. After 3 days, they found an abandoned cabin. Inside, on the dusty wooden floor, they discovered a single item. Samantha's silver pendant necklace, placed neatly in the center. Her body was never found. To this day, viewers dissect the final stream for clues. Some claim that at timestamp 31:06, a faint shadow can be seen moving across the window behind her. Others say the painting itself changes subtly if you stare at it long enough. One disturbing theory? That Samantha had painted her own death days before it actually happened. And someone, or something, made her do it. Whether Samantha's disappearance was the result of mental distress, something more sinister, or a chilling blend of both, her final artwork remains locked away in evidence storage, unfinished, untouched, and forever live on the internet as her digital ghost continues to whisper through pixels and paint. Every day, millions of people go live, sharing their thoughts, talents, and lives with the world. But behind the screen, some stories take a darker turn. The 3 tales you've just heard aren't scripted horror. They're real accounts of people vanishing while hundreds, sometimes thousands, watched helplessly. They remind us that what we see on a live stream is only a fragment of reality. And sometimes the camera captures something we were never meant to witness.